When it comes to server security, there's one number that's like a digital front door. It's an amazing tool for anyone managing a system, but it's also one of the most attacked entry points on the entire internet. And that's the number we're going to talk about today.
Think about it like this. Would you ever leave the front door to your office or your house wide open for absolutely anyone on the street to just walk up and try the handle? Of course not. But that's pretty much what can happen in the digital world, and it all revolves around one specific port.
And that number is 3389. Now, this isn't just some random number. It's the default TCP port for an incredibly powerful tool that lets you manage computers remotely. But because it's so powerful, well, it's also a massive target for attackers.
So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to break down what port 3389 is, why it's such a tempting target, and most importantly, we're going to walk through the simple, powerful steps you can take to lock it down for good.
Okay, so first things first, we gotta understand the tool that actually uses this port. It's something called the Remote Desktop Protocol, or you'll usually just hear it called RDP.
Think of RDP as Microsoft's magic wand for remote access. Seriously, it lets you see and use a Windows machine from literally anywhere in the world. We're talking full graphical control, your mouse, your keyboard, everything. It's like you're sitting right there in front of it.
So how is RDP just waiting for someone to connect? Well, you already know the answer. It uses our digital front door, port 3389. By default, any Windows server that has remote access turned on is listening on this exact port, just waiting for a knock.
The whole process is actually pretty straightforward. Your computer sends out a request, a secure connection gets set up, you put in your login details, they get verified, and boom, you're in. It's designed to be super seamless. But, that seamlessness is exactly what attackers are hoping to exploit.
Okay, so this all sounds super useful, right? So where's the catch? How does this convenient little doorway turn into a massive security headache? Let's dive into how hackers actually turn this thing into a huge liability.
And this quote right here just nails it. Ask any security pro and they'll tell you an open port 3389 is like putting up a giant blinking neon sign for attackers. It's basically an open invitation that says, hey, come try and break in over here.
Attackers have a few go-to methods. The biggest one, by a long shot, is brute force attacks. We're talking automated software just hammering away with millions of username and password combos. But they also use credentials that were stolen from other data breaches. And they exploit known bugs in the software itself.
And this table breaks it down perfectly. You've got your brute force spots, which are just relentless. Then you have these really nasty vulnerability exploits, like the famous Bluekeep, which let hackers take over systems without even needing a password. And finally, there's credential stuffing, which basically preys on the fact that so many people reuse their passwords.
Okay, so we know the threats. It's a bit scary. So how do we actually fight back? How do we build up our defenses? Well, it's all about creating multiple layers of security.
All right, here are the absolute essentials. Think of this as your security checklist. Strong passwords and multi-factor authentication, or MFA, that's your first line of defense, no question. Keeping your system patched protects you from those nasty vulnerability exploits. And using tools like a VPN or an RDP gateway can hide port 3389 from the public internet completely. But there's one on this list that's a fantastic gatekeeper.
And that gatekeeper is network level authentication, or NLA. This thing is a game changer. It's so crucial because it makes a user prove who they are before the system even wastes resources loading the full desktop session. Just turning this one setting on can stop a ton of those automated brute force attacks dead in their tracks.
Look, all these practices are great. You absolutely should be doing them. But there is one single action, one golden rule that offers more protection against these automated attacks than pretty much all the others combined.
And that brings us to the single most important thing you're going to hear today. Let's call it the golden rule of access. You need to let this one sink in. You must never, and I mean never, leave port 3389 open to the entire public internet. That 0.0.0.0/0 you see, that means the whole world, and it's the setting that gets so many people hacked.
So what's the fix? It's actually really simple, but it's incredibly effective. It's called IP whitelisting. Instead of leaving the door open for everyone to come knocking, you basically give a key to only the specific people you trust by telling your firewall to only accept connections from their specific locations.
And this right here, this is the magic. This shows you the transformation. You go from a rule that says, hey, the source can be anyone, to a new rule that says, nope, the source can only be my office IP address. It's such a small tweak, but the security impact is just massive.
The second you make that change, poof! All those automated bots out there scanning the internet for open port 3389s, they can't even see you anymore. To them, your server just vanished. You've become invisible to the overwhelming majority of attackers.
Look, securing port 3389 is obviously a huge win, but it's more than that. It's about a mindset. You've just learned how to lock a really important digital door. So the real question to ask yourself is, what door are you going to check next?